Quilters love to quilt. That's why they continue to make quilts, even when they don't need them. But there comes a day in every quilter's life when she looks into the overstuffed closet and realizes she has too many quilts. Perhaps her husband has hinted of that already. Perhaps her children have complained about the extra quilts crowding out their space in the game room. So she begins to wonder, how many quilts do we really need in this house? At that point, she must decide whether to quit making quilts, not really an option, or do something with the quilts she makes. She might hear of a charity that sells quilts at auction to raise money. She might know someone who volunteers at a women's shelter and is always asking for quilts for the beds. She might have a police officer friend who wraps children in quilts when they're removed from a drug house. In all these cases, the quilter begins thinking about her excess bed covers. Maybe they could be donated to one of these good causes. There's something intangibly rewarding about making things and giving them away, whether it's a batch of cookies for an elderly neighbor or a pair of booties for a newborn. Quilters know this. Consider, for example, a quilter I'll call Donna, who learns about a shelter for homeless women. She realizes that the shelter's beds need quilts. So she goes to her sewing room, she rummages around until she finds enough fabric with just the right colors for a twin bed quilt. She uses her spare time over the next several days to cut and piece and quilt and bind. She takes her creation to the women's shelter where the director gushes over the gift. Donna now goes home with joy, knowing that a hurting, despondent woman will curl up under her very quilt and feel comfort. And Donna marches right back into her sewing room and finds more fabric for yet another quilt for the shelter. The reward for Donna's good work is the joyful feeling of satisfaction, which compels her to do it again and again. My most memorable experience? About 10 years ago, I met a woman in our quilt guild who coordinated the Chemo Quilts program. She told me about her work, making custom quilts for children undergoing chemotherapy at a local hospital. This meant that each child could request a particular color or pattern, and the quilt maker would create a quilt to match that request. The coordinator then asked if I'd be willing to help occasionally, and I agreed. My first assignment came just a few months later. A little boy wanted a quilt with colors and logos of a particular professional football team, and he wanted Garfield cartoon characters as well. I had to scour the internet to find just the right fabrics. Eventually, I got what he'd requested. I made the quilt and gave it to the coordinator. She, in turn, gave it to the boy. But that's not the end of the story. About a week later, I got a beautiful note of thanks, printed by a little boy, along with a photo of that boy hooked up to IVs in a hospital bed and covered with my quilt. That's when I realized the impact a quilt can have on someone else. I advise people first to contact their local quilt shop or quilt guild to see what charity work is already being done in their area. Many shops have ongoing challenges to encourage customers to make a certain kind of quilt, show it in a competition at the shop, then donate it to charity. Other shops offer free machine quilting services to people who piece quilts for charities. Likewise, almost every quilt guild across the country participates in some kind of service project. But if you can't find a guild or a shop that does charity quilting, you could simply contact the charity of your choice. Call or email or check the website. Or use your computer's search engine to find national or international charities that need quilts. You'll be amazed at what you'll find. Whether you're interested in homeless children in Kenya or endangered animal species in North America or leukemia research in Australia, practically any good cause, you'll probably find a way to promote it with quilts.